What's up guys, BigPappa here, and I just found this weird job posting on Microsoft and Halo Studios for a test rep for the new Halo game. Really weird because it seems like instead of being paid, I have to pay them for the privilege of beta testing their game. I'm of course talking about Halo Campaign Evolved. I made a video last year when they were announcing this about my skepticism with this remake and some of the issues plaguing the series, and why the engine swap to Unreal just wouldn't magically fix everything. On top of questioning why they would even choose to go with Unreal over other game engines like id Tech. But all that was speculative, as I wasn't able to get my hands on the game till about 2 weeks ago when the game finally released. And now that the game is out, I can't help but feel sort of vindicated in my speculation, because the more I play this remake, the more it was apparent that this project was born from a lack of confidence on both 343, now Halo Studios, and the community, as well as this just being a project of convenience. Halo Campaign Evolved is, at the end, it's a glorified tech demo to show what the folks at Halo Studios can do with Unreal Engine. And after replaying the original game just before release and rediscovering what makes Halo so special, not only to me but to an entire generation of gamers, I had little to no faith that the team that let us down so many times before would be able to recapture the same magic that made the original game such a masterpiece. But I was willing to give the game a chance, to let it stand on its own merits, and was willing to come into it with an open mind. So, does this remake justify its own existence, even with only half the content? Let's grab the energy sword, sprint head on into it, and load our assault rifles with 36 rounds. Oh, fuck you. Immediately off the bat, we have to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the missing elephant. No multiplayer. Not even local split-screen multiplayer. Halo's multiplayer was the blueprint for all console first-person shooters, redefining what console shooters could be and laying the groundwork for basically every multiplayer game since. It's what made Halo, the original, so special. Not just because it had multiplayer or that it was really fucking good, but the sense of community that it created. Without multiplayer, the original game would not have nearly the impact that it did. It likely would have never given Microsoft or the Xbox a leg to stand on. So to ship a remake of the original game that laid the groundwork for the entire series, the platform, and the genre should be a criminal fucking offense. Apparently, there was a separate multiplayer project being worked on at the same time called Project Ekur, but it was cancelled due to development issues with the campaign. I'm sorry, what? I thought the switch to Unreal was supposed to relieve development and make it easier. So now you're telling me that the tools that were supposed to make it easier, you can't even ship a complete product like you did 5 years ago with the shitbox known as Slipspace? Well, this campaign better be fucking good, cause otherwise, I'm gonna feel like a real fucking jackass. Okay, no multiplayer here. Cool. What the fuck do we have here then? Well, we have the original campaign rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine, and we have a 3-mission prequel campaign called Operation Meteorite. Well, let's start with the one that started it all. Off the bat, this is not a one-to-one remake of the original game. Things are different, and I'll be honest, I'm actually glad that they changed things. In my opinion, that's what remakes should do. They should differ in ways from the original, like adding things from future titles in the series or addressing common complaints or weak points with the original. And to give the game credit, they do that. It's just that in some places it works a lot better than others. Some of the changes I really like, some I'm indifferent to, and some that I can't understand who asked for this. Immediately, the first change you're going to notice is the graphics. And simply put, it looks like it runs on Unreal Engine. The graphical fidelity here is fantastic. A lot of things, they look amazing. There's so much detail and everything looks so photorealistic, but sometimes that comes at the cost of the art style. Now, when you're outside on levels like Silent Cartographer, it hits. The foliage, the sand, and the water effects, they all look so fucking good. But then stepping inside these supposedly old, ancient buildings that predate humanity, all the floors look like they were just waxed this morning. These places aren't supposed to have been touched for millennia. Why is everything shiny here? It carries that Unreal Engine look that I don't really care for, and it's one of the reasons why I don't really like Unreal Engine games and how basically unanimous it has become in the industry. It loses some of the charm and the character that was in the original game and ends up looking like AI generated Halo rather than a work of art that has soul. But outside of comparing it to the original game, this game, I have to give it credit, it looks absolutely amazing. The game doesn't just look like it runs on Unreal, it does perform like it too. Now, I have to say, in terms of games with this level of fidelity, this is surprisingly one of the most well optimized, at least in my experience. I was getting a constant 60 frames per second on my 4080 with high settings and just a little bit of upscaling to 4K. Now, I have heard horror stories about how some people's experiences have been so terrible, but at least in my experience, I didn't get any of that. I didn't even need frame generation in order to get a clean, consistent frame rate. But part of the reason I refused to turn it on is because apparently it fucked with the cutscenes. Speaking of cutscenes, this one is sort of a mixed bag for me. All the voice lines and dialogue for Chief, Cortana, Keyes, and Sergeant Johnson were re-recorded, and in the case of Keyes and Johnson, new voice actors came in to record the lines. Both actors do a fine job. It's just that, especially in terms of Johnson, he doesn't have the same cadence as the original voice actor, that same gruffness. Nothing against the new voice actor Keston John, he does a fine job, but it could just be the nostalgia talking, but I don't think he matches David Scully, who unfortunately has since retired. The fact that he looks like Steve Harvey now doesn't help at all. But it seems like some of the voice direction that the cast was given this time around fluctuates a lot more than before. There are lines that appear in the original that are here, and I believe they were performed better in this remake typically, but there are some that I just question what direction they were given and why some of these choices were made. We know that Jen Taylor and Steve Downes can perform these characters perfectly. They've been doing it for 25 years at this point. That's what makes me feel like the voice direction that they were given was the issue here. Moving on to some of the more controversial changes. Sprint. Sprint has been a heated discussion in Halo since it was introduced back in Reach, where it was an armor power-up that players actually had to choose to wield. In 4, it became standard movement option that was available to everyone, which, combined with a larger and more open level design, made it almost necessary to use if you didn't want to get caught out in the open. This led to a lot of players needing to choose to sprint and have their gun unavailable immediately, letting enemy players that camped get the upper hand. Seeing this issue, rather than removing sprint from the following game, 343 decided to push forward and not only make sprinting faster, but add thrusters, allowing players to charge into one another, turning the once defenseless but oftentimes necessary tactic to be used offensively. While this could possibly be a good remedy, it made the game too sweaty and fast-paced for most Halo fans. Then we get to Infinite, the first game where they, at least to me, seemed to strike a good balance with sprint. It wasn't much faster than your normal walking speed, but still left your gun unavailable for a brief moment as you readjust. In multiplayer, it allows for a good risk versus reward. Do I sprint to try to get to this power weapon, or keep my guard up in case there's an enemy coming around the corner? And that sort of sprint is essentially what we have here. So surely in single player, they would balance it just as much as they did for multiplayer in the last game, right? Oh, god damn it. Which, this sucks because the gameplay here does feel really good. Mostly. The assault rifle, despite only being 32 rounds, is actually useful. The shotgun is powerful. The pistol, though it's nerfed from the OG, is still amazing. It just sucks that some of the weapon sounds are severe downgrades, like the sniper rifle. That's just pathetic. And so is the melee feel. I can't tell if I'm hitting anything here. Bump up the thumb so I know that I'm at least connecting, damn it. I'm a 7-foot tall super soldier with inhuman strength. I should feel like I'm bashing their skulls in. Now, despite all the negative shit I've been saying, I actually do like how the game feels to play. Is it a 1-to-1 remake of Halo CE in terms of gameplay and levels? No. And I don't think it should be, but it does feel and play like Halo, with the two games it most closely resembles being Infinite and Reach. Part of that allegedly being that the game still uses Bungie's Blam engine from Reach under the hood. The game feels like Halo, and the changes to the game's levels are welcome additions that I genuinely think enhance the game, especially the library. This makes the sections that you can now sprint through with reckless abandon all the more tragic because you could tell that they were originally designed without sprint in mind. And you can easily tell what sections were from the original and what sections were built brand new because those do have sprint in mind. And sprinting with reckless abandon is exaggerated by the change to a more modern health and shield system instead of the original game's health packs and regenerating shield. The addition of regenerating health makes nearly fatal encounters with enemies a non-issue. It used to be that if you got careless and nearly died in a fight, you'd better be really fucking careful till you found a health pack. Now, if you nearly die, just hide for a few seconds till you're in tip-top shape again. You fucked up the perfectly good system for no reason. And to compensate for this, enemies were made a bit more threatening this time with more accurate weapons and bigger bullet sponges. Thankfully, rocket flood are nowhere near as common. I think I only encountered like 2 in my whole playthrough, but now with the addition of the flood hunter, they swap out one ball buster for another. These fucking things can eat my asshole raw. They seemingly don't have the same weak points as regular hunters, but take just as much punishment to put down, leading me to just running past them to the next checkpoint to get a move on. Even with all that and some other technical bullshittery that's going on, like the amount of film grain that you can't even turn off unless you go into the engine files and turn it off. The main story here is still fun to play through, but that mostly stems from the game that it's based on being great. If they managed to fuck it up so badly that they made it bad, I'd be impressed. This remake is a layup. Making the game fun is the easy part. But what about when the guardrails of the original game are removed and the team over at Halo Studios does something wholly original? Well, that's where the 3 prequel missions known as Operation Meteorite come in. 3 missions taking place a year before combat evolved, with Sergeant Johnson and Chief in the beautiful Mark IV armor. Immediately, Chief is a lot more chatty.
Layout matches what Naval Intelligence provided, confirming a route to the ship's command center. You're always hungry. Any way to speed this up? Concentrate fire on their exposed areas. Fire at will. All take point. Contacts on tracker.
Which is fucking hilarious, because Johnson, and by extension Halo Studios, knows Chief is supposed to be a mostly silent protagonist.
Chief, you ever get tired of being the strong, almost silent type?
No.
Like, Halo Studios, You realize that he isn't the strong silent type here, right? You have him yapping constantly. Ugh, and that's not the worst of it. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Lieutenant Williams, probably one of the most obnoxious characters ever written in Halo. Seriously, she's almost as bad as Captain Del Rio in Halo 4. An ODST soldier who was captured by the Covenant on their ship, the Triumph of Tolerance. Her and her team are overrun after an escape when Johnson and Chief rescue them.
You don't seem as impressed as the rest of your crew.
No, Sergeant Major, I'm not. Takes more than fancy armor and a good PR campaign to impress me.
Bitch, we just saved your ass as you were pinned down by enemy gunfire, and the first thing you say is how the PR doesn't fucking impress you? How about the fact that two guys just saved your whole goddamn team, you ungrateful bitch? And she goes on and on just putting the chief down. It's fucking annoying.
Even PR machines had some use after all. Thanks for the assist.
And don't come at me in the comments saying, oh, it's lore accurate because the ODSTs hate the Spartans because they're blah yada yada. Shut the fuck up. The fact is, this is a game that's meant to celebrate 25 years of the franchise. This is supposed to be a celebration and a return to form. This is not the place to put a character like this. I am the goddamn motherfucking Master Chief. I may not have saved the world in the story yet, but as a fan who's been playing these games for 25 years, I have beaten the Covenant Armadas and the Flood. I know what I'm fucking capable of. The last thing I want to hear from some character I have never met before is how much she thinks I'm just fucking hype. I shouldn't have to prove myself to someone who, may I remind you, I just got introduced to by saving her fucking life. Can you imagine that if at the beginning of Halo 3, when you save that Marine, he just says, thanks for the save, you overhyped tin can? Whoever's dumbass idea this character was, know your audience. Or move on to a different series entirely, because this shit is not what we fucking want. It does not respect the fans. It does not respect the series, and I don't want it in my Halo games ever again unless this kind of shit talk comes from someone I am supposed to hate. I'll give them credit in the fact that she comes around on Chief at the end, but the first impressions mean everything, so by the end, I didn't give a shit about her. At least she gets the ending she deserves.
Appreciated, Sergeant Major. Name a building after us or something, alright? I was thinking something like...
Okay. Rant over. How are the rest of these missions? You know what? Not bad at all. The team is very clearly taking inspiration from previous titles, and not just Halo CE here. I was getting vibes from Halo 3 and Halo Reach in these levels, especially the space combat mission. I actually enjoyed my time playing through these enough so that I hope that this inspiration is taken and expanded upon in the future, not remake titles, cause this level design is solid, fun, and varied, and I'd like to see this series continue, not just focusing on remakes. The only negative thing I have to say about these levels is the dialogue, with how much Chief has to say and just everything out of Williams' mouth. Outside of the campaigns, we have two modes. We have Campaign Co-op, allowing you and up to 3 friends to play through the game's campaigns together, and then we have Remix, essentially a built-in randomizer mode to mix up the campaign, and it can lead to some chaos. Randomized weapons, random skulls enabled, and... What the fuck are the Flood doing on the Pillar of Autumn? Other than those, there are skulls to collect that can modify the game. Can't wait to track all those down and try a lasso run with some friends. Terminals to find, and skins to earn. There are some pretty interesting skins, like this one that looks like the translucent green Xbox, one that makes you look like a hunter, and one you can earn by watching a Twitch stream and syncing Twitch to your Halo Waypoint or Microsoft account. But then there are some skins that are a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Bullshit. Like this Unidays armor that you need to sign up with a student email address, which thankfully I still have access to my old student email address. But what about people that didn't go to college? What about people that aren't old enough to have attended university or attend a university that isn't listed on their website? Fuck you, I guess. Or this Ignition skin, which is only available if you manage to get your hands on the Mattel Hot Wheels Brick Builder Warthog, which is seemingly sold out on Mattel's website. I got lucky and managed to put an order through on GameStop like a week ago, so maybe there are still some available, maybe there are more coming out, but putting shit like this behind a paywall is fucking stupid. Like, I get it for the special edition players getting exclusive skins, but skins that have some dumb requirements like student email addresses or tie-in products that can easily be region specific is a fucking dick move. So, if you're not in the US or one of the other countries that these promotions are available in, guess you're shit out of fucking luck. Maybe next time be an American, dumbass. And that's it. That's the whole package here. So, does Halo Campaign Evolved justify its own existence? No, and also kinda yeah. I said at the beginning that this was a product built from the lack of confidence. Halo Studios needed a layup in order to show fans that they could deliver on the game that they are specifically designed to create. But the game's lack of features that the original game had 25 years ago, the dice roll on performances, and the homogenized art style that, while it feels solid, it lacks the soul that longtime fans come to expect from Halo. We know that this game can be better. We've seen it be better. And despite the foundation being there and the game playing extremely well, it's these shortcomings and these missing details that make Halo Halo. The game feels like it's been sanded down to remove all the rough edges, exposing the faults underneath the varnish. Good art has flaws, but it's the detail in the brushstrokes that makes the painting beautiful. I may be able to print a recreation of great art and it'll look fine from a distance, but I'll never, ever be able to capture the subtle detail in the original piece, no matter how fantastic my printer is. So while I feel that this game doesn't justify itself to us as fans or as players, I don't think it was supposed to. At least, not to Halo Studios. Microsoft almost definitely meant it to, but I don't think the developers ever really did. At least, I fucking hope not. I know I'm giving them a lot of credit here, but this feels like a Halo in Unreal tech demo just expanded and made into a full release by order of corporate demand. Something that Microsoft can shove out and show to the world saying, hey, we can make a game that feels like Halo. Are you happy now? Without thinking about what makes Halo feel like Halo. So while it doesn't justify itself to me, I think it's what Halo Studios needed in order to prove to themselves first. It was just swept up and made into something that needed to be put out. Because at the end, I'm just left wondering, who asked for this? If you have had access to the original game, the anniversary, or the Master Chief Collection, this game, despite all its new tech, isn't worth it. Maybe, if you've been a lifelong PlayStation guy and wanted to see what it's all about, then maybe it is. But at this point, why go for this when you can go on PC and get the Master Chief Collection for $40 on Steam? 5 great games plus Halo 4 for less than this one remake, including multiplayer. I've seen it go on sale for as low as 20 bucks. I'd say that is much more worth your money and your time. Maybe if they had released this as a 3-in-1 package with the entire Bungie trilogy, or if they had just done a remaster or remake of Halo 3, the only one of the original trilogy that they haven't touched yet, maybe it would be worth it. Although, they probably don't want to be crucified by the community more than they are currently doing for daring to try to touch Halo 3, which is arguably the greatest game in the entire series. So maybe this was the safer bet. But that's it for today. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this little ramble. Comment down below your thoughts on the remake. Share the video with a friend. And I'll see you guys next time.